Well, hello, everyone. Cynthia Tomain here with Interactive Brokers, and thank you for joining me for today's webinar on the introduction to the Trader Workstation. Our focus today is going to be on the pre-formatted workspace called Mosaic. Now, TWS will provide you with the state-of-the-art trading platform that's been built with the flexibility to handle all types of trading preferences. The Mosaic workspace we're going to be discussing today does include color-linked windows in a separate workspace that and all of those windows have been combined into a single tab-based frame. Now, new users, when you first launch the Trader Workstation, will have a choice between the Mosaic workspace and the classic TWS spreadsheet interface that allows you more complex orders and is also available for legacy Trader Workstation users. Both are included as separate work groups and tabbed for easy access within the Trader Workstation platform. So with that introduction, let's move right over into the desktop share portion of our event where we can go ahead and get underway today. Now, I'm going to move us over to the Interactive Broker website. There it is. It's now, you've been able to catch up with me. And I do want to start out on our web page because here what you will find is that we're able to log in directly from the login button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Now notice when you do click that login button, there are several different versions of TWS. And to start off with, what I do want to mention are these different versions. Now notice TWS Beta, whenever you see that indicated here, it means we're in the final stages of testing any new enhancements or upgrades that are soon to be released. While you can log into Trader Workstation Beta, I do want to let you know that you are going to be trading in a live trading environment, so be very careful. What you see in beta is subject to change until it has been rolled out into production. Now also notice here there's a separate selection called for TWS. This happens to be our time-tested version and is a static view of the Trader Workstation platform. This version, I'm going to stop that flickering and move off, but if you do log into TWS, you'll find that it is as of a release about a year ago. The static version of TWS doesn't change nearly as often as TWS latest. Now, this is provided for our legacy users who prefer not to keep up with all of the enhancements that are continuously being rolled out. But I did want to let you know that it is available. If you have logged into just TWS, you may not see all of the additional enhancements or items that I'm going to be displaying during today's session. So that takes us to TWS latest. Now, this is our most up-to-date Trader Workstation software. You'll find that we're currently working in build 966, and I'll show you how you can find out what build you are working in. So I did want to make mention of that. Now, also notice that first-time users simply clicking on that login button will take you to a download page where you can install and run TWS locally. Now, once you do click download here, it will install an icon that's included on your desktop. Now, the beauty about accessing the Trader Workstation platform here is that any upgrades, enhancements, or overnight fixes that have been rolled out will automatically be included when you next log in to the Trader Workstation platform. Now, what I'm going to do here is take you out to TWS. Now, first of all, I do want to point out when you log in, you'll find a daily lineup. Now, this is a separate window, and notice I can click and drag that window, and is meant as similar to a for the headlines in a newspaper article. Notice here, this will give you an overview of what's going on in today's markets. Now, a few things that I do want to point out for you is, first of all, take a look at background shading. Throughout the Trader Workstation, we do use colors to indicate directional movement. So when you see red background, you'll find that indicates the change in price since previous business day. But also notice here, we show you not only the absolute change of the dollar value, but you'll also see the percentage change that represents. Now, notice that green background shading indicates positive movement since close of business previous business day. Also, notice here there are tick dots that are included that will show you directional movement. What you're seeing here are the real-time prices for last trades. So notice a red tick dot indicates downward movement since the previous execution, whereas a green tick dot will give you or let you know that the previous trade was done on an uptick. So you can view that information very easily from the lineup. Now also, let me see if I'm going to expand this page here, or this side, because I did also want to show you there's another tick dot color. Notice that yellow color is indicating that what you're viewing is delayed data. For those markets you do not subscribe to, where it's available, we will show you delayed prices. Now, keep in mind these delays could be 10 minutes, 15, 20, even 30 minutes delayed. So the important item to remember is that it is not showing you real-time data. Notice as well, there is a slight color variation. That brownish yellow in the background also lets you know that you're viewing delayed data. Now, notice that on here, there's several different areas for a quick synopsis on what's going on in the market, the top 10 items or news articles for today's session, and then notice these are also ranked. By the way, you'll see me as I'm moving around through the application. When you hover over column headers or even different icons that are displayed, a tooltip is going to automatically open up to give you some additional information. So for example, you might want to ask me, what is the difference between the green and the red background shading here, and then what about not applicable? Well, notice by simply hovering your cursor over that column header, you'll get a tooltip that will further explain what it is that you're looking at. Notice some of these tooltips even give you a link for additional information, and you'll also find that if you don't want to display it any longer, there's a check mark that will allow you to collapse that so the tooltips don't always pop up. Now, this page is meant for just an additional or a snapshot overview of what's going on in the world's markets. Oh, and by the way, notice I also do have displayed for analyst activity. I don't want to be negligent and not tell you about these additional tick dot colors. So notice where we do see blue in analyst activity, it's representing a category competitor for something that I may hold within my portfolio, or an alternate ticker symbol here. Also notice where you see it in analyst activity and not included with your pricing, this here is going to display where you may hold a position or have it included in your watch list. So remember, blue is a related item, but yellow indicates that you are actually monitoring this, whether in your portfolio or in any of your monitor screens. Now, while you do have the ability to go through, notice here there's clickable links that are included that will take you to additional information. I also want you to see that you can minimize this particular page or simply close the daily lineup completely. So I'm going to close this up, and now let's take a look at the mosaic background. Now, notice that when you are viewing the mosaic, it is a pre-configured workspace with color-linked windows. Notice here that linking icon that's included in the title bar of all of these separate windows is letting you know that colored linking has been enabled. Notice now where we do have a particular ticker symbol indicated in our order entry screen. Let's say I might want to go to a different ticker symbol, so I'm going to pull up Facebook, and notice as soon as I do, all of these separate windows are now linked to the ticker selection. This means that as you're looking at a ticker symbol, you also have access to a real-time chart, an expanded quote detail screen. And why do we show that here? Well, notice over in your quote monitor or in your watch list, what displays by default is the last price at which these contracts traded, as well as the change and the absolute change and the percentage that represents. So rather than cluttering up your screen with all real-time quotes, when you do click, and let's go to NVIDIA right now, and notice here how I've just now updated the information that's displayed. Will give me expanded quote details, including the NBBO, or the National Best Bid or Offer, as well as additional fundamental analysis, such as, and notice I'm going to click out of this box, and you'll see the high and the low for the current trading session, as well as the 52-week high and low. Earnings information as well as valuation is also included in that separate window. Now, before we do get into actually trading, let's take a quick look. And what I'm going to do is bring up the login screen. I showed you where to log in, but I forgot to tell you when you do log in and click the icon installed on your desktop, notice a login screen will appear. Now, on this login screen is where you'll need to enter the user ID and password that was assigned when you first opened up your account. But notice that it's also showing a simulated trading environment, which means I'm going to be trading or showing you via my paper account. Now, paper accounts are available to all IB clients with an approved and a funded interactive broker account. But notice that you can toggle between your live trading as well as a paper account. Now, you will have to apply for a paper account or a simulated, or set you up for a simulated trading environment. That means that you can try out all of the features available through Trader Workstation without actually risking your capital. So if you're just getting accustomed to TWS, do request a paper account today if you don't already have one. Now notice I'm going to go up to the account window, or the account drop-down menu, and you'll notice that there is a selection here that will take you out to account management, your account's official books and records, where you can request that paper account. I mentioned it is available to those clients with an approved and a funded account. Once you've funded your account and you have subscribed to market data, that same information will be mirrored in your paper account so that you can view real-time activity or real-time quotes throughout the application for those same markets that you subscribe to. Now, the beauty with your paper account is that because we do mirror the same information that's available in your live account, there's no additional cost for that paper account. But as you do get accustomed to trading, I do suggest that you start off first with paper trading. Then when you see, or as soon as you are comfortable trading in TWS, you can very easily move over into your live trading application and submit those trades. Now, and by the way, notice with the paper account or with your login screen, while I am going to be working in my paper account, you'll see I don't have this red band that appears up at the top of your screen. If you are not seeing this, it means you're trading live, so do be very careful. Now also, I want to point out that we do provide several different palettes. by default, you'll actually get access to our dark palette, which is black background and white text. Now notice here I happen to be on the classic version of TWS, which includes these blue title bars. I just happen to find those a little bit easier for you to focus on while we're going through these presentations. But also do want you to be aware we include a light palette as well. I'm going to move over into the live trading so that you can see the different background colors that are available in each of these different palettes. Please note that if you do change palettes, it does require a restart, so I did want to point that out. Now there's also a separate selection here which is called Use or Store Your Settings on Our Server. Now, the very first time you log into TWS, a JTS folder will be created, and it's created directly on the hard drive of your machine. So for Windows users, it's located right on the root of C. Mac users will find it in your user directory. Just look for that JTS folder. All of the settings or configuration choices that you create will automatically be saved to that folder. But I do want you to be aware that it is saved locally only on the machine that you're currently using. But notice this selection here will allow you to use or store those settings on our server. Notice here there's also additional question mark icons that will give you other information. For example, once checked, you can actually log into TWS from any computer, and with this box selected, all of those settings that you stored on our server will be brought down when you log into Trader Workstation. So you get the same look and feel, the same watch list items as well throughout the platform. So do keep that in mind. It should be selected by default, so I did want to point that out. But I'm going to go ahead and close the login because once you've logged in, you do have a choice between the Mosaic or the classic version of TWS. If you take a look in the lower left-hand corner, you'll find that there are two different interfaces available. I'm going to jump over into classic TWS just to show you that it does include a spreadsheet-like interface. You'll find the use of color in the background does give you at-a-glance information. And notice here that instead of those color-linked separate features as we have in the Mosaic, you'll find Classic TWS includes a spreadsheet-like interface. And as I showed you the different quote details, you can find that same information is included on the column headers in Classic TWS. But our focus today is Mosaic. I did point that out, though, to let you know that regardless of which interface you're using, you're still within that same global platform here. So whether you're working in Mosaic or Classic TWS, you'll find any of the trades you make will be visible on both interfaces. Now, notice that, by the way, this platform, I'm going to double-click the title bar, and notice here that double-clicking the title bar will put Trader Workstation into a windowed view. You can also use the Maximize button or icon that's included in the title bar. I'm going to double-click here to take you into full screen access. So I've just made my version of TWS as large as I can on the screen that you're viewing. Oh, okay. I see Thomas was asking, do you have to subscribe to the daily lineup? Absolutely not. If you're not seeing it when you do come in, notice that all of our features and functions will be available on that new window button. So if you're not seeing it when you first launch TWS, notice here that you will get access to the daily lineup under our information system. That will pull it back up by simply clicking on that selection. And notice how here we can bring the daily lineup back up. Now, this is, you'll find that information that's included in the daily lineup is also available to IB clients through our fundamental analytics menu, as well as our our unified events calendar. So what you're seeing here, all clients do have access to. What you will find, though, is whether you have subscriptions to those ticker symbols that are listed. For example, you'll see here, and let me go back, I just closed it out. Oh no, I do have it open up on the bottom. Notice that if you do happen to hold subscriptions to European markets, you'll see these will be displayed in with that red and green text. Okay. More information we go through the daily lineup in our Fundamental Analytical Tools webinar, so you can access that as well. Okay, so back within TWS, and wait a minute, once your account is funded, will paper trading be in real time, Lori is asking. Absolutely. What you are seeing are the same markets that you do subscribe to. Although, what I'm going to put in here, just for example, I'm going to put in Z for the FTSE index, and notice here it's grayed out in that pop-up window, which means I don't hold market data subscriptions. So where you're not viewing the information in real time, you'll see this delayed data is actually displayed. Okay, well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let's go back to the beginning. Okay. Oh, and Thomas is saying, I only have TSE market data. Well, if you do want to subscribe to other markets, you can do that within your account management system. Now, let's jump back. Thomas, I will show you. Well, let's see. Here's my slides here. But what I do want to do is go back into the Interactive Brokers website, because underneath the login menu, notice account management is also included. I happen to be in my paper account, so I will have to log in separately into, and notice here, let's see, let me put, by the way, if you're going to subscribe to those markets, notice it does have to be in the live account. While you can access your account management using your paper account, you'll find that many of the features are not available through paper. So definitely do go in through your live account. Just want to quickly take you out here because notice it's underneath the Manage Account section. Simply clicking that button. Let me expand this. Here we go. And under trade configuration, go into market data where you can subscribe to those markets that you are going to trade. Notice here we do have different subscriptions. By the way, you'll see professional market data. I happen to be, this is my test account, happens to be set up as a, or with professional market data subscription prices. If you do trade for yourself or have a single or an individual account, you'll find you may qualify here for non-professional market data rates. By the way, go to the pricing menu on the Interactive Broker website to see the differences between professional and non-professional subscriptions. But notice I am going to go into North America, for example, and here where we do see Thomas had mentioned he has subscribed to the Toronto Stock Exchange, you'll see that you also have access to additional exchanges included here as well. Here we do have the venture or the notice, by the way, we even have additional tooltips that pop up within this window. So here is where you can see the prices and subscribe. Now, by the way, I do want to mention when you're subscribing to markets, we do not, or you'll see what we do include are the actual monthly charges for any of these subscriptions. If you do add additional markets, just keep in mind that we do not prorate these charges. So if you're going to add subscriptions, make sure you do it at the beginning of the month, but you can also remove subscriptions by simply deselecting this box and using the continue button at the very bottom of the screen. I'm not going to go through with that, but I do want you to be aware that if you do unsubscribe, since we're already in the month of July, you'll still be charged for the entire month. So remember, if you're going to add subscriptions, do it early in the month, and if you're going to be removing them, remove before the month changes, so that calendar month changes, because if those subscriptions are active, you will be charged that full month's rate. So here is a quick look at where you can access that. By the way, when you are working in your live account, notice that with the menu drop-downs that appear at the top of the page, you can also go directly into Account Management Home. Okay, so a quick look at how to make those subscriptions. Now also, I do want to quickly show you some of the drop-down menus that are included at the top of the page. These items that appear here will give you access to global information throughout TWS. There's also account information, which, by the way, not only can you go to your account management home, and while that is a separate platform, it's also connected automatically to your Trader Workstation. So you can toggle back and forth from that account menu to account management home. But we also do include an account window. That account window is going to show you all of the different balances that are included in your account. Notice here there is an arrow, or there's a tooltip that pops up, but you'll see this window includes account balances, your current margin requirements, what you have available for trading, as well as market value and your portfolio. Now, each of these windows you can expand with the green plus, and notice here, well, first of all, I'm going to collapse this because I do have separate strategies. Now, whether you're an advisor who utilizes our model portfolios or an individual trader who uses the portfolio builder, each of those applications give you the ability to add and track a separate strategy. So what I'm going to do here, and notice I've got the strategies listed, I could go in and choose to view the information as a growth strategy that I've already selected here. But where you don't have, and I do have multiple different strategies, but also notice there is an independent selection. So for those positions I hold in my account that aren't associated with one of those strategies, you'll see they are all grouped under the independent portion of your account. Happy to answer questions on that account window, but there you get that quick at-a-glance view of your account balances and your margin requirements. Okay. So now we're back in this window, and we've seen some drop-down menus here, and do want to point out underneath the Help menu, first of all, notice there is About Trader Workstation, and here is where you can see the most up-to-date or you'll see what version of TWS that you're running. And notice here, this was just released yesterday afternoon. So if I happen to be showing you something that you're not seeing in your version of TWS, you may need to go back in and log into TWS latest. So here's where you can check. Also do want to point out up on top, guides and documentation are easily accessible from this window as well. Notice here there's a quick tour that you can take of Mosaic, take a look at a platform overview, even access the user guides and documentation all from within Trader Workstation. And we'll be taking a look at some of those items as well. Now, as you move over to the upper right-hand corner of the window, also notice here there are several different icons that will give you quick access, as well as, first of all, let's take a look at data. Notice how that is color-coded as well. Simply left-clicking here, that will let you know, and quickly you can view that information at a glance. If there are connections, or if you have dropped a connection or do not have a connection to any of these items here, you can always click that data to see if anything is visible. But also be aware there are bulletins. Now, bulletins, I'm going to simply open that up. They will appear by default and will actually flash if there's an indication that certain markets that you do trade may have some difficulties, whether they're not connected or if there could be possible technical technical difficulties on the exchange, notice those bulletins are there to alert you to any of those items that will display. Okay, there's also a pushpin icon, and I'll show you utilizing this pushpin icon does give you the ability to open up separate windows, but also by clicking that pushpin, and you'll see it's available in any of the separate windows that we open up, to anchor that window on top of your version of TWS. By the way, you can also minimize collapse Trader Workstation, put it in your window view, or simply remember, double-clicking the title bar will expand it for full screen access. Now, that not only works for the Trader Workstation, but also each of the individual windows here. So, for example, where I do have the FTSE index indicated in my charts, notice that by double-clicking, it expands that chart window to full screen access. Notice here it is included in the Mosaic, and I could either restore this back to the windowed view, or double-clicking. I happen to like the double-click on a blank space because that will expand the window for additional information, or collapse it back to its spot within the or embedded in the workspace. Okay, now there's also a few items that are included in the upper left. Now notice here that or the font icon here will allow you to increase or decrease the font size. Notice that you can very quickly, simply clicking that icon and then click larger, it will go pixel by pixel or expand that space. You can also make the space smaller if you want to include additional information on the screen. So you can do this without getting into global configuration. Now, you'll also find that these windows are locked by default. Now, what does locked mean? Well, the layout itself has been locked so that you don't inadvertently close out any of these windows. Notice here where there is an X, I could potentially close that window out. So in order or to prevent you from inadvertently closing out any of these screens, we do keep that layout locked by default. But notice that by clicking the icon, you can actually unlock the layout. And here, I'm just going to be moving certain icons around. I might want to see the charts appearing over on the left, and I can click and drag and redesign the screen. By the way, you can add additional items here, and notice you can even collapse these to add more items onto your screen. But for right now, what I'm going to do is expand this and then go back and lock the layout. By the way, I unlocked it, and when it's unlocked, also want to point out that bright green border. That's an indication to you that you could possibly move or disrupt this layout. So once you have made any of your changes, make sure you do go back and lock that layout so you don't inadvertently close items down. Okay, so that brings us now over to our separate windows that are included in the Mosaic interface. And I'm going to start out with the monitor screen. Here is where you can add any of your watch lists, and notice that initially when you open up the platform, you'll see a separate tab with sample ticker symbols that are included. And you'll find that throughout TWS, we do use default information or sample information. So instead of looking at a blank screen and wondering what to do, you'll be able to see representative data that's already included. Now notice there are separate tabs that are included here, as well as a plus tab. Now you can add additional watch lists, notice by simply clicking that plus, and I'm going to open up a new tab. That actually opens up a separate tab, and I'm just going to you'll see here, you can add multiple different tabs. So I'm going to go in and notice here, we'll go into Watch List 1, but I'm also going to right-click on that tab and rename it. I'm just going to call this My Test. Whatever you put in that window will be used as the title bar for the tabs, so you can actually move to multiple different windows all on this one page. Now, why do we do that? Well, first of all, notice that in your Favorites tab, we do have representative data, but you'll also find out that in TWS, we will show you active ticker symbols or active real-time quotes for up to 100 ticker symbols at any one time on the platform. Does that mean there's a maximum amount of tickers you can monitor? Absolutely not. But what it does do is it gives you the ability to add and organize your ticker symbols by creating separate monitor windows instead of one lengthy window here. So do keep that in mind. Now also notice that your portfolio, the same information that's included in account management, is also available on this window. It opens up as a separate portfolio watch list. You'll find information is included here, such as those different strategies. And notice that what I have done is I've simply expanded using the plus icon to view those independent positions held in my account that are not included in any of these strategies. Also, any additional items, and I'm overdue for a rebalance on my portfolio builder, so this is actually reminding me to go in and rebalance that portfolio builder. But additional information is included. Now notice here, profit and loss. Now this window is showing you the daily profit and loss since closing price previous business day. Notice here, you'll be able to see what those daily amounts are. Now in this case, hovering over any of these column headers also pulls up a tooltip, and keep in mind this is daily gain and loss. You also have access to an account profile. Now if I do pick up that profile window, notice here by expanding that it will also show me basic information as well as gives me the ability to add a hypothetical position to see what kind of impact that may have on my account. I'm simply going to close that window, but I do want to show you that each of these buttons has separate meanings and will navigate you to related information. Now notice you'll also see over in the upper right hand corner is your margin. It's going to show you the net liquidation, which is the amount of value in your account that you would get if you liquidated all of your positions right now. This information updates every 3 minutes throughout the trading day, but it does give you that overview. You'll also find what your maintenance margin requirements are, excess liquidity, as well as that special memorandum account. So just be aware this information, as well as tooltips, will display within the window. Now, each of your column headers gives you basic information, including the position or the number of shares or contracts that you hold and the current market value. Notice here it's also showing the last price at which this traded and the average price as well for average price that was paid, including your commissions here. So you can see your last price and your average price. By the way, if you hover over any of the column headers, there is a multitude of additional columns that are available. Notice if I do go in to insert a column, I start off with general categories of information. So for example, if I do want to find position and P&L, hovering over that category, I could actually go in and choose my unrealized gain and loss. Now notice that while I am taking a look at daily P&L, I can also view my overall unrealized gains or losses since I've held the position within my account. So notice, by the way, this is color-coded as well. So you can add additional columns of information, whatever it is that you need to suit your trading preferences. Now I'm going to go into the My test because if you do want to add, we have some sample information and your current portfolio, but notice that if you click underneath the financial instrument column, you can add additional ticker symbols. I'm going to add IBM, for example, and notice when I hit Tab or Enter, I'm presented with a floating menu that will allow me to choose the trading instrument that I do want to monitor. Notice here for IBM, International Business Machines, I could choose a stock, and I'll come back to tell you more about SMART. There are futures that are available, but this actually means single stock futures. Option contracts can be traded from here, and there's additional instruments also accessible. But notice where you do have, or where these products trade on multiple exchanges, you'll also see that IBM, you could trade on a Mexican exchange, on a Frankfurt exchange, or there's even bonds that are available, corporate bonds that you can access from here. So once you do make your add that ticker symbol, notice that I'm going to start off with equities. And here you'll see I now have IBM listed as an equity. It's going to show me the last price as well as that tick dot for directional movement, plus the change in price since previous business day. Now, if I add IBM once again, I'm going to actually this time choose option contracts. Now, notice I could go through the option chain button that's included in the order entry window when you do have the underlying in focus, or by simply adding the ticker symbol once again and going into options, you'll see an option selector opens up. Now, this is going to show you the next 3 expiries or last trading dates, and notice that it is showing you right here or the actual date and the number of days left to that expiration date. Now notice here we're seeing monthly contracts, July, August, and September. But there's also a More button here that will allow you to go in and choose from any of these currently listed last trading days or expiries. Now, notice where I don't have September, I could choose October and add that to my list, and you'll see then how that list changed. But also notice here, if you are interested in those short-dated weekly options, you can add those as well. Now, I'm going to go back and notice here, let me go back into that More drop-down, and what you're seeing with the yellow shading in the background, notice these are weekly option contracts. So once I make a selection here, notice how the tabs are going to show me that yellow text. So again, at a glance, I can see whether these are weeklies or monthly options. Now, while you're looking at everything in a tabbed view, notice you could also see this in a list view. Now, the list view, you'll see how that option selector expands to show you each last trading day that was listed in the tabs, and notice how it does display on this page. It's also going to show you the contracts, and notice here the background shading is once again gives you intuitive information. For example, the blue shading on the call side as well as the blue background shading on the put side are showing you which contracts are currently trading in the money. That means on the call side, these contracts are currently trading out of the money, those with the black and gray shading. And if we go over and take a look at the puts, you'll see the same is listed over on the right-hand side. Now, each of these, notice as I hover over any of these items, when I'm on the call side, you'll see if I were to select this item here, it's actually showing me I would be adding the call contract into my watch list. Now, also, what I'm going to do is move over onto the put side here, and you'll see that select button, and I'll simply select. So now what I'm viewing are the, and notice here, I'm going to expand this window. I'm seeing the July 7th 155 call and 155 put. Notice background shading in this case, again, is available so you know at a glance whether these contracts are currently trading in the money or not. There's some additional choices that you can make here. For example, I'm seeing those strikes that are closest to the at-the-money strike, but notice you can make your selection, show 10 contracts, make a custom number, or actually even show all of them. Now, take a look. You not only do you have access to show this information by strikes, but you could also choose to display it by standard deviation. Now I'm going to close this window here and show you that the different color shadings next to the strike prices are letting you know the number of standard deviations these strike prices are away from your current strike. By the way, notice that the real-time price for the underlying is also included in the title bar. Now from here, notice that each of these separate last trading days can be collapsed. So notice you can collapse or expand using the arrowhead. And you'll also notice the shading. When you hover over any of these, the different background shading is going to show you the number of standard deviations away from the current at the money strike. So there's a lot of information that's displayed here, but as I scroll down to the bottom, notice there are some additional contracts listed here. Yellow indicates the weekly contracts that are available, and the white text indicates the monthly contracts that are available as well. Now, if you want to see, notice the time period displayed, I'm currently looking at information over the next 3 months. You could add it 6 months, a year, 2 years, or even view the maximum or the maximum number of trading day or expirations that are currently available on the platform. And by the way, notice here, it does take you out to leaps for January of 2018 as well as January of 2019. Additional contracts, the June and Sep contracts, are also included here. Okay, so once you've made your selections, notice I'm going to simply close out of the window, and we've now added an equity and 2 different option prices. Now the next item I'm going to show you is, let's type ES for the E-mini S&P. This time when I click Tab or Enter, you'll see that if I were to select a stock, it would actually represent the Eversource Energy Corporation that trades on the New York Stock Exchange. But if it's a futures contract I'm looking for, notice I will need to scroll down. Not futures for the for Eversource, these would be single stock futures. So you do want to come down and choose by the exchange or routing destination whether you want to view the index or the futures. Now I'm going to go into the futures, and just as we saw with the options, you'll see a future selector pops up. Notice here it's showing you the expiries for the upcoming quarterly contracts, Sep, Dec, and March of 2018. But also notice that for futures, we do include a continuous futures contract. Now this contract, I'm going to go ahead and add that onto your or into my quote box, and notice where I do have that infinity sign displayed, what this is a continuous futures contract, which means that as you approach the expiration here, actually several days ahead of the expiration, when the volume moves from the current or the current contract to the next futures contract, so will the data that appears in your columns of information. That means that you don't have to come back after that contract has expired to view updated market quotes. By the way, this is going to display quotes or real-time quotes only. If you do have a position, just keep in mind you'll have to roll forward that position or close the position prior to the last trading date for the contract. Now, while this is available and can be traded from the Mosaic, many of our optimized features do require the actual contract. So I'm going to put E-mini S&P, and this time let's go in and we'll choose the SEP contracts. And notice here, those are the lead month and where the volume, and you'll see that these are identical. But just keep in mind that infinity sign may prevent you from trading on some of our more advanced tools such as Book Trader or Basket Trader. But for those of you who are looking to evaluate long-term trends on the underlying, that continuous contract may be helpful. Okay, so we've added a an equity. Oh, by the way, let's go back in here, and I'm going to add IBM. Now, I do want you to be aware that corporate bonds are available, and simply making that selection, notice now, we've got a different contract selector that will allow you to choose corporate bonds by maturity date, by issue date, even by coupon rate, or by underlying currency. So there's quite a bit of information that's available here. Simply make your selection and you can then add that onto your window. By the way, notice here, their first time through, you'll see certain messages will pop up. And this is letting you know that you can actually choose whether you want to view bond quotes adjusted to reflect the fees from any of our alternative trading platforms that are available. These fees can vary based on the quantity that you are trading, so do be aware of this. There's also raw prices that you can access as well. By the way, any of these items are also available in our user guide, so where you can drill down for additional information. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll click OK, and notice now that bond has been added into my watch list. By the way, well, it looks like, notice here, there is an information icon, this here is, let's see, I'm not quite sure what that's telling me here, but notice that you could actually, let me see, it will open up on this window and show you some additional features that are available for that particular corporate bond. Now, one last contract that I'm going to show you, and notice here, I'm going to type in EUR.USD. So what I've just done was actually create a currency pair. When I do choose tab or enter this time, again, I get that selection window where I can choose whether I want to trade the currency pairs or CFDs. Since CFDs are not available for U.S. clients, I'm going to go with the cash, and we'll simply choose OK. So now what you're seeing on this window, notice, is that what I do have available, I'm going to try and move I have a separate panel. Let me see if I can adjust this and move it out of my way. But I did want you to see that, notice, all of those contracts can be added into your quote monitor list so that you can monitor the real-time prices, the change in price, and actually even initiate trades directly from that watch list window. A couple of other things you can do with the watch list. Well, notice I'm going to click on IBM, and if you use the insert key, you can add additional lines or additional rows above the contract that you selected. Now, once you've added that additional row, I'm going to click out of it, and you'll see I do have a blank row that appears on top. Now, something that may be helpful if you are working with multiple different instruments is creating a group header row. If you right-click on a blank line, notice that you get an intuitive navigation choice based on where it is that you right-click. So on a blank line, I'm going to go in and create a header row. So notice here, I'll just add this as stock. I'm going to add that header, and now it's included above the row. I'm going to right-click again on that blank row, create an extra header, and notice here that I can also put in options. And then click OK. You can continue to do this and utilize these header rows to gather like contracts together. So notice here how you can put that on. And I'm going to also right click here. We'll call this FX. And I'm going to right click here and create a separate header. We'll go into that group header, and let's put this as Corp bonds. So you can use this, well, case does matter, but I'm going to go ahead and add these. Once you've added the header row, the beauty with that header is that you can click and drag the header row and actually reposition it any place on your screen. It's not covering up additional information. So notice I could reorganize these by simply clicking and dragging the header. So I did want to show you that capability. Let me see now. I want to stop for just a moment before we move on to the next section on how you can trade. But let me stop for a quick moment and see if I can handle some of your questions. Is it possible to add the daily lineup as a new tab? Thomas is asking. Um, Oh, let me see. Oh, Rahman. Well, let me get to, let me see. Dominic has a question. Is it possible to add the daily lineup as a new tab to Mosaic? Well, notice that next to Mosaic, you also see a plus tab. Wherever you see that plus, it does give you the ability to add a tab, whether you create a custom tab yourself or you can actually open up several of our pre-formatted layouts that are available in the layout library. Well, notice if I do want to create this, I'll call this daily. And then simply go and create. Notice how it opens up a separate blank tab where I can add additional layouts from here. I'm going to go into the new window layout. Let's go ahead. We'll add the daily lineup. And now that that's added within, let's see here. Let me see if I can add that. Well, it looks like we might not be able to add that as a separate window because it's already included. So you may simply want to go through the new window button for that daily lineup. This is not going to be, and you'll see here that I'm not able to add. Well, let me see if I can add this into the window, and let's organize this, but I don't believe this is going to stick in the tab. But also, I do want to mention here, notice there are, well, when you first come to this window, to create a custom layout, it gives you steps 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to go into the open layout library and notice that we do have multiple different pre-formatted, I think there's 24 different layouts that are available. I'm going to quickly look and see if and I'm not seeing the daily lineup appear on any of these tabs, but say for example, I may want to go into, well, let me see, I'm going to move up here into different, well, let me see, where's my options? I do want to find options here. By the way, these should be, let me see, with the different layouts. Oh, here it is, option trading. I thought it was alphabetical. Looks like it's not. But notice that you can add that layout. I'll simply choose a separate layout, and notice how this is going to populate with a pre-formatted layout. Remember, the layout editor at the top of the screen gives you the ability to resize, reshape, or reorganize any of the additional tabs that are included on this window, or you can simply remove them. So you do have that flexibility throughout the platform. Stay with any of our pre-formatted layouts or try some out for yourself. But Thomas, it looks like that daily lineup is only going to be available through the new window tab. Notice here I'm going to lock that layout and now this then becomes one of my default screens. Just as I can move from the Mosaic to Classic TWS, I could also go to that separate layout for my options trading. So all of this has been created so that you can design and configure TWS to suit your individual trading preferences. Okay, let me see. Rahman had some questions here. And let me go back. How do you insert a row in portfolio in the Mosaic? You've tried several options, but you cannot do it. Well, let's go back into the Mosaic window, Rahman, because here, notice under the Portfolio tab, this is a system-generated tab. It includes all of the positions that you hold in your account. So you are not able to add, notice, even with the right click, you're not able to add any additional columns columns you can add, but additional rows you cannot. You have to be on a separate tab, and notice here, I'll just go into directly below Microsoft. I may want a new row, so I'll use the insert key that's included on my keyboard. That will, and by the way, you can add multiple different rows. You will have to click here And notice how it is highlighted so that you could add a ticker symbol and organize it within this window. I'll just add Intel and see how easy it is to organize that information. So, by the way, it is the portfolio tab because it's system generated that you can't add those additional rows. It's only going to show you the products that you hold within your account. Let me see. Oh, Michael is asking, how do I reset all of the settings to the original default setting? Well, doing that within TWS, they're actually, let's see, we'll go into our global configuration window. But there is a way that, notice here, with the configuration wrench, that will actually take you into global configuration. Now, on this window here, there are no default resets. So what you would need to do is simply, and I'm going to ask you to contact client support, because there are I mentioned early on, there are folders that are included, your JTS folder. So notice I'm going to go into my computer, and what I will do is go directly to the root of C. Notice here that JTS folder is where all of your settings in TWS are going to be created. Now notice, by the way, I have many different D folders, and that D folder identifies your settings. Now, how do you find out what that D folder is? Well, on your machine, you won't have as many different D folders as I do. But notice if I hit Control U, well, actually, I believe it's Control Alt U on my keyboard. By using that, it's going to show me what that directory is. Remember, JTS right off the root of C. And this one is the directory included for my paper account. Now, if you rename that directory, it will automatically, let's go into TWS or into that JTS folder. So once again, I'll go through my Windows view and we'll go into JTS. Oops, let's try that again. If I expand this, let me go in and notice here how I have new user appended. If you do that to your user folder, it will take you back in, and it is or effectively sets you up with the default settings that was initially configured for your TWS account. Now, by the way, do be aware there, if you do that, you'll also lose any configuration choices, plus any of the watch lists that you may have created. So be very careful with that, or contact our client services for step-by-step instructions. But good question there. It is possible by renaming that folder. Then when you next log into TWS, you will have to deselect that auto save settings on our server, and then when you launch the Trader Workstation, it will launch as if you were a new user. Okay, so Michael, quick tip for you there. Let me see. Okay, you want to add a new script in portfolio for trading. Oh, a new script. Well, if you're looking for any of our APIs, Rahman, what I'm going to do is actually take you back to the Interactive Broker website. Notice we'll go back, and I'm just going to go to our home web page here, where you can find underneath the trading menu. Notice there are various different API solutions available. Here is where you can find, build your own trading application. You can actually get market data. Or learn more about our different apps. Not sure which one is our different APIs. Notice here that I'm going to go into learn more about APIs, and on this page here you can find the different APIs that we do have available, as well as some additional subscription or different applications here. Once you do get into the software, you'll find, and let me see, I'm going to scroll to the bottom of this page. Notice that you can get the software from here. So if you're looking for the APIs, here's where you can do it from the Interactive Broker website underneath the trading menu. There's various solutions available. While you can work outside the platform and pull in any of the market data that we have available, I do want you to know that you're not able to do that within TWS, but you can do it through our APIs. Okay, Ramon is saying, these days I go through classical mode only. I would love to do it right away in Mosaic. Okay, well, hopefully when we finish up here, Ramon, I'll show you some additional shortcuts that may fit your trading preferences. Let me see. My chart is missing in the space where your chart is. What did I do? Close out of it, Thomas? Well, probably, but don't worry. Let's get back into TWS, because notice here, if you do, I'm going to unlock the layout, and notice that I've now, I can remove that. By the way, you are going to be warned, and you'll see here that removing that, it now leaves a blank space. When you are in layout mode, notice you can go into the new window. We're going to go down to a chart, and you can open up a chart. It opens up a chart, and you'll see here that chart is automatically added. And notice when I click and drag the title bar, it's even sized to fit within that space. So I'm going to put it within that space. By the way, while I'm still in layout mode, I could expand and redesign what that layout is. So I did want you to see that that too is available within TWS. So once we add that chart back, what I'm going to do here is actually go in and take off some of those hot buttons. We'll keep those hidden. I'm going to go, well, let me go back in. Let's see, hot buttons, I want those hidden, and now they no longer appear. So now that I've re-added that chart, I can reposition it within this workspace. And I'll grab the quote details screen. Let me come in here. We'll put that in. So now when I lock the layout, once again, this time you won't be able to remove it, Thomas, so give that a try. Can you create several portfolios for different strategies? Helmut is asking. Absolutely, Helmut. And this we do go through, and I'm not going to go through it today, but if you do have an individual account, notice there is a portfolio builder. Now, portfolio builder is available as a new window you can open up, or notice here, if you are working in Classic TWS, it will open up as a separate tab. But right now, what I'm going to do is open up the Portfolio Builder. Here, this is the feature that you'll need to create certain rules. You can actually work with our research platforms and develop a research-driven strategy. Different steps to use are included here, but also let me point out there happens to be a question mark icon, and you'll find this is included in several of our different separate windows that open up. This is going to give you a cheat sheet, that question mark icon, and notice you can follow the steps to create or invest in that strategy. So it's all included in this window. So if you do want to find out more about working with the Portfolio Builder, simply launch that and you can read some additional information as well. As you do notice, there's different strategy labs. We do have, you'll see these are the different strategies I include in my portfolio, but notice there's even some predefined strategies that I could look at from here. What I am going to do right now, though, is minimize this and also show you, let's go back to the Interactive Broker website, because if I put in here webinars in my search field, well, it also helps to spell it correctly, and then simply search for that, you'll see this actually opens up to page where I could find previously recorded sessions. Those that I do on on all of the different aspects of TWS will be included here. And notice there's a portfolio builder. So if you want to learn more, here's where you can listen to a previous recording or even go into the webinar notes that I've provided. And you'll see different quick links, how to use the tool, and can go down in creating those separate strategies. So definitely do check that out with our recorded sessions. And let me see, that oh, that was Helmut that had asked. So you can find out more. You can even practice. And by the way, I've created these strategies within my paper account. So if this is a new feature for you, simply launch it in your paper account where you can try out different strategies and actually even monitor those separately within your paper account. And you'll see here that, by the way, let's go back into TWS and my portfolio window. These are the different strategies that I've already created within my account. So yes, multiple different strategies are available. Do take a look at that additional feature and the webinar notes that go along with it, and then give it a try in your paper account. Okay, can we use profile to find shareholder of record date and payout dates? Good one, Charles. Good question. Now, what you can do for that is actually located under the new window. Notice that we do have an information system with fundamental data that's available. All IB clients get access to this at no additional subscription charge. Now, notice when I do go into the fundamentals, it is well, because of that color linking icon, it's opened up to the ticker symbol that I currently have in focus in TWS. You'll find there are several different pages, including a summary or an overview of the business or the corporation you're looking at. Notice different categories of information, and wherever you see an information icon, hover over it for additional tool tips. You'll also find here there's more, so if you are looking for date of record, notice we have a dividend section that's included, so I'm going to click that More button, and here you can find additional information about those dividends. Now also notice that in the drop-down menu, there's a dividend calendar. This calendar is going to show you the 12-month dividend yields as well as the growth over the previous 1 year. Notice here you can see historical dividend information and also with upcoming ex-dividend date as well. So information is provided. By the way, it is the right-click menu. If there's one tool tip I can give you throughout the application, it's right-click on a particular ticker symbol. Notice that right-click, while I could go through the drop-down menu, I can also find analytical tools and company fundamentals. So here I can grab that data as well as ownership. Notice here you can see your institutional and insider shareholders. You can also view financial statements. There's quite a lot that's available within this feature. And again, this is covered in a full-length webinar. So if you'd like to learn more or just access the webinar notes, remember to go out to the webinar section and download those webinar notes that we do provide. Okay. So Charles, that's information that's available. All right, well, I think there's more questions there, but before we delay any further, a few more items that I do want to go through here. Now, for example, trading. What I am going to do is I'm going to go over into my favorites menu, and simply, well, I just added Intel, and you'll see here that by clicking on it, I've just changed the focus for each of the windows included in the mosaic, including the order entry window. Now notice in order entry, let me show you here that what is displayed in that order entry window. First, if you do hold a position in the underlying, there will be a separate box here that shows you the position. I'm going to quickly go into Apple and notice that I happen to hold 1,100 shares. and I'm long 1,100 shares in Apple in this particular item. But I'm going to go back to Intel, where you'll see there is no position. Real-time best bid and offers that are available are included here, but also notice, while it's only the spread between or in equities market, it's usually just a penny wide. But if we do go into, and let me choose futures, notice here that not only are you going to see well, notice here, we do have, this happens to be a one tick wide market, but notice that you can also find the midpoint by simply sliding your cursor along the line here. But what I will do is I'm going to go back to Intel. Now, notice that I could either click on that within my watch list or simply use the drop-down menu to any of those previously accessed ticker symbols. Now, also notice here, we do show you an adaptive algo. That's one of our newest algorithms that are available on the platform and can be used with any product that will help you obtain the fastest fill at the lowest all-in cost. This will give you some additional information about putting that algorithm or utilizing that algorithm. So I did want you to be aware. Where you see that question mark icon, you'll find a cheat sheet will help you through. Now notice here you can find out more. There's a link that's included about the adaptive algo that will take you out to a web page that gives you some more detailed information about creating that algorithm, whether you're in the Mosaic or I'm going to scroll down here. Also, it shows you how to access that information through through Classic TWS. Okay, well, let's minimize that right now. And by the way, notice that when you do have a ticker symbol in focus, you can also readily access the option chains with the button that's included in the order entry window. We're back in the option selector, so you can see, and we've already discussed this. Now, do want to point out that when you open up the option selector, there's also a strategy builder. That strategy builder will allow you to create multiple different spread strategies by simply, well, notice here, I may click on the let me go in and I'm going to click on the 34 call and notice if I left click on a bid price, you'll see when I click here, it becomes a sell leg, and you'll see that included in the strategy builder. If I'm going to buy a call, I'll simply right or left click on the ask price. Notice blue indicates you're going to buy and red indicates you're going to sell. You'll see I've created that bear call strategy with an order entry line where I can submit that trade directly from here. I'm going to close out of this right now because we also have, we also talk more about spreads in our option trader webinar or our strategy builder. So you may want to check that in our archives as well. Okay, so back to the order entry window because we're just looking at what content is included. By the way, I do want to point out, notice underneath the actual ticker symbol, there is a shortable field. Now this tick dot here and hovering over it will let you see if there are sufficient number of shares to short. Now on Trader Workstation, you don't have to do anything special to be able to short equities on the platform. Simply create an order to sell, and if you don't hold that position in your portfolio, TWS will recognize that you do intend to sell short. Now on here, you'll see that shortable field is color-coded. There's some additional colors that are available. That will let you know if we don't have a locate, or notice bright green shows you there are over 177 million shares available, so it is accessible. But a hunter green or a darker green indicates that we don't have a locate for the number of shares that you do want to short. By submitting that trade, it lets our securities lending department go out and start the locate process. More on that is included in our website. Let me go back to our homepage and notice underneath the trading menu there is securities financing. So if you do intend to sell short, you can find more information on this particular page. So notice the availability and that bright green color shading. So I did want you to see it's available. Now also notice here there is a consolidated button. market data subscriptions for 3 of the largest networks changed at the beginning of this year. In order for you to receive real-time quotes, you will need to subscribe to the NASDAQ network, the NYSE network, and ARCA Amex network. Those 3 different networks do carry different subscription fees. Now, if you don't subscribe to all of those networks, you can still get a consolidated best bid or offer quote that's available on the platform by simply clicking that consolidated button. Once you do, a single snapshot view will appear in your expanded quote details. I happen to have those subscriptions. I do subscribe real time, so you'll see this information is updating. But if you don't have that real time subscription, this snapshot view will give you the national best bid and offer and any of the exchanges where that happens to be available. And simply hovering over these selections here will show you which exchanges where they are available. So did want to point that out. But now let's get down to actually creating an order. When you're in the order entry window, you'll need to click the buy button, and notice the background shading. Blue indicates you're going long or increasing an existing position. Here, if we click on the sell button, notice that you would be closing all or part of the position or actually even selling short. And the red background shading gives you that at a glance information. Now, I'm going to start with a initial buy. And by the way, notice there is a quantity. Now, the quantity here will normally default to the, let me type it in here, to 100 shares. For equities, that's the default amount, or 100 shares per trade. For options and futures, it's a single contract each. For Forex, it actually happens to be the approximate 25,000 US dollar equivalent, which is the price, or when I mentioned 25,000, that happens to be the threshold for your trades to actually enter the interbank platform. So just wanted you to be aware of that. Now, we do have some additional features that will allow you to set your default, but initially when you come into the platform, you'll find that TWS automatically sets up certain defaults. For example, the default quantity. But notice you simply need to click within that field, and I'm going to change that to 1,000 shares, for example. Now, the next field, the order type, as well as the limit price, are also can be changed. Now, by default, all orders on the platform will appear as a limit order, and I've made some changes here, with the time in force set today at the default quantity for the instrument that you're trading. But keep in mind, you can make changes here. So if it's not a limit order that you want to put in, notice that when I expand this, I only have a few order types that are available. But take a look at the arrowhead. That arrowhead means additional items are selected, but you haven't used those recently. So what you are seeing is that those order types are grayed out. If I do want to create a market on close, notice that even though it's grayed out, I can simply make that selection. It will now be added in this window. And now notice that the next time I go into the drop-down menu, it's considered one of those active selections. Now, this arrowhead, or what you're seeing happen here, is that all of our menus will show you just what you actively use on a regular basis or within the previous 2 weeks. So where I did just activate the market on close order type, it now becomes part of those active selections. If I don't use it for a period of 2 weeks, it drops off of this window. That doesn't mean it's not available. It just means it's no longer actively used. So if you're not seeing what you expect, remember to expand using the arrowhead at the bottom of the screen. Right now, I'm going to go back to a basic limit order, and do want you to see that when you come into this window and hit the buy button, it automatically uses the national best offer price and populates that within your order entry window. But remember, you can click within that field, and I'm going to take this several pennies away from the current market. Now, the next field is actually your time in force, and where you can set this as a day order, a good till cancel order. You can also choose whether you want this to trigger or fill during or outside of regular trading hours, and where available during the market pre-open. But there's also an additional, or notice the arrowhead gives me or expands this menu so that I can see now at the opening. So if I did want this as a day order, I could set it up to trigger at the opening of the markets tomorrow. So notice those selections are available, but where you don't see, make sure you do check that drop-down arrow. Now I've got a limit order for 1,000 shares. Notice here is my price, and I can submit that trade. Now, when you do go to submit, notice there is an order confirmation window that pops up that recaps that trade. You'll see at the top all of the selections you've made are now included, and also notice at the bottom the amount of that trade is available. You'll also see what the margin impact is with or for your account. Equity with loan value is one of those selections available in the account window, and it is going to show you what you do have access to, as well as your initial and maintenance margin requirements. The change here is indicating what that what the margin requirement would be for 1,000 shares of Intel, and should that trade actually fill, you'll see those post-trade amounts also included here. When you do go to transmit, notice that that transmit button actually includes that in your order monitoring window. Notice here the very first item is your order status. Here's the ticker symbol, and here you'll see the different order criteria. Now, notice order status. It's a bright green. Well, what does that mean? Well, hover over it and you'll see a tooltip. But also, let me take you up to guides and documentation. We'll go to the online user guide, and in this page here, you can find there's a getting started with Mosaic and all of the different topics we're talking about here today. Now, while you can go into our table of contents, notice that each of these book selections you can expand to view individual information here. There's also an alphabetical index according to keyword. So if you know what you're looking for, you may be able to search alphabetically and then for example, EPS growth, and access that information directly from the index. But there's also a terrific search feature. Now, when we go into search, what I'm going to do is put in order status colors and make a selection. When you do go to search, notice here what will display are all of the pages in the user guide where order status colors are discussed, and they're displayed in order of relevance. So if you want to see what those order status colors mean, notice I'll simply go to the top of this list and then show you all of the different colors that could display. Green indicates that your order has been accepted and is working at the destination. Now, if you do go in and select a cancellation or make a cancellation request, notice there's even an order status color for that. Now, while we do have pink and orange available, these indicate that your request to cancel has been accepted by the system, but it's not yet recognized. So be careful of these two order status colors. Once you do see a red order status, it does confirm that you are indeed out of that trade. So here's where you can look up the information directly from TWS. Now, notice here, there's also a scroll bar, and I'm going to make them, well, before I cancel this, notice I could go in and modify that trade. So I'm going to change the price of the trade, and now notice that the order row has turned brown, which indicates you've made a modification, but that yellow update button shows that you have not yet transmitted that modified order. If you hover over the details within your order management row, you'll see that my initial price is still working in the market. My modified price has not been accepted until I choose to update that order. Now notice the modified price is working. If I do want to send a cancellation request, simply choose to cancel that order, and you'll see that red order status color actually does appear. Well, going back up, and now notice I do have certain order defaults I've already set, so I do want to point that out. But what I'm going to do here, instead of recreating the order, I'm going to go into the Advanced button. Now, you'll find that under the Advanced button, you can choose to either smart route your trade, and smart routing actually is showing you that TWS will utilize our smart routing technology, which at the time you place the trade will route all or parts of your order to the exchange that can provide the fastest fill at the most favorable price. Now, notice here there's also a drop-down menu, and you can choose to direct route your order to any of these various venues that are available. But if you don't have a reason, for example, you may want to participate in IEX's smart router. Now, if you do, you can actually indicate that you want this only directed at IEX. But if you don't have a preference, then we do recommend that you utilize IB's smart routing technology. There's additional attributes that can also be added here, but notice you have the ability to attach a stop loss and a profit-taking limit order, or in other words, a bracket trade. Now, a bracket trade will attach two opposite side orders. Here's that profit-taking limit order and your protective stop. Now, notice when I do choose to attach, TWS automatically calculates $1 above the current parent price for your profit-taking limit order and $1 below for that stop. Now, notice that you can always go in, and I might want to, I'm going to put this at 33.41. And notice that what I've just done was take it 50 cents below the current market price. Now, when I do tab out of it, you'll see that that order has been set. And at this point, simply click Submit. Notice there's 3 orders, my initial parent order plus 2 opposite side orders. Now, these orders will not activate until I receive a fill on that parent order, but once activated, you'll find 2 exit trades are already in place. So if the market moves in your direction and you're able to capture a profit, that profit-taking limit order is already in place. If the market moves against your position, that protective stop is already there and working. So now when we click Transmit, I'll have to override and transmit all of this. And notice that I've now just created, you'll see, well, I should have adjusted the price, but notice that my parent order just got filled, and now notice that the 2 opposite side orders have activated. Here you'll see that it is just the profit-taking limit order that's exposed to the market, and notice that the dark blue order status is letting you see that the order has been accepted, but is being held at IB until that stop election price has been maintained or has been attained or penetrated, and then that will trigger that protective stop. Now, these are set up as one cancels another, so notice if I do come in, I'm going to make a modification. We'll change that profit-taking limit order to a market order, and notice when I do click Update, you'll see I've just been filled. And notice here, notice that I'm now being filled on that order, and at the same time that protective stop was canceled by the system. So a quick way that you can see that within the platform. By the way, once once those orders have filled, you'll see that they do gray out to let you know that it has, and notice here the different quantity that has been filled or whether it's been canceled. Now, in your activity monitor, there's also a Trades tab. That Trades tab will show you the trades that have completed during the current trading session. Notice here I bought 500 shares, and then I also sold 500 shares. We also include a summary tab where you can see the net result of your buys and sells for the current trading session. But I'm going to take us back to the trades icon, and notice here there is a plus that's included in the activity column. That plus, by simply clicking on the plus, will expand to show you the beauty of our smart routing technology. Notice here that at the time I placed the trade, those 500 shares were actually, well, here it was filled on an individual exchange. So I do want you to see that even if it is smart routed, you may see multiple exchanges that actually include here. Now, I mentioned early on in today's session that in Classic TWS, you can also see those trades. Classic Trader Workstation uses a trade log, and you'll see those very same items that I've included in the Mosaic, or that I traded today in Mosaic, are also available. Now, I am going to take you out to show you in the classic version of TWS. You'll see that, well, I could pull it up for the previous 7 days. With the holiday this week, I'm not getting back to any previous trades. But here is where you could view those prior trades, or also expand to show you all exchanges or market venues where that trade would actually fill. By the way, once it has filled here, let's go back into the Mosaic. I'm going to take you into the Portfolio tab, and we can now see Intel has been added. And notice while I both bought and sold during the current trading session, you'll see that I did incur a loss of $15 on that trade, and I no longer have that position. So I did want to follow full circle through that trade. Okay, there is so much, and we are just scratching the surface with Trader Workstation. But I would like to open this up for any of your questions. So if you've got a question for me, make sure you enter it into the questions panel, and I'll try and answer those questions right now. Is there a simpler user interface that would be similar to Thinkorswim or E-Trade platform? Donald, well, we do have different interfaces that are available. Now, our full-featured Trader Workstation is what I'm showing you here today. But let me go out, and I'm going to take you back to our website, because additional trading items can be found, or trading platforms can be found. Notice I'm going to go into the various trading platforms, and here you'll see that we do include the Trader Workstation. There's also mobile applications that are available for your smartphone or tablet. You will have to go out to the App Store or download from your mobile device for Android platforms as well. You can click here to learn more about any of our platforms. So I will let you take a look. By the way, keep in mind that whether you're trading or when you are trading via these multiple platforms, only a single platform can be active at any one time on our entire system. So if you're working off your mobile device, it will automatically remove or close out of the desktop application. So if you happen to be working on your desktop, go out to lunch, you can actually monitor markets via that mobile app, and then when you get back to your desktop, you can get right back into your desktop application. But just one of these will be available at any one time on the platform. Then we also do have a WebTrader. WebTrader is a simplified trading platform. It's been designed for access behind a firewall where logging into TWS may not be possible. Now, the simplified version does not include all of the features and functions in our full-featured Trader Workstation, but you may want to check out the WebTrader feature. By the way, you can learn more here, and the same user ID and password for your live account or for your paper account will work on any of these additional platforms. Okay, can we, let me see, I made a trade in my paper account, and notice the execution time was 2 hours different from the actual TSE time. How can you adjust that? Well, Thomas, in doing that, let's go back into Trader Workstation. Where I'm going to point you to is the configuration menu. Let's go into our settings. Now, general settings here. are included. And notice that it's going to use the time zone of the device that you're currently trading on. And you'll see that it is hooked to the time on your local computer. So notice here, it is showing me 1:38. If you do want to view this, you can select your time zone. You can use a specific time zone by simply, let's deselect that. Whether you use the time zone of your computer, which is what's currently selected, or use a specific time zone. Notice here, you can actually make that selection. So you can make that change in global configuration. Also, take a look and notice there is an input field here that will allow you to search throughout global config to locate where to make those adjustments. By the way, you can also notice here, I could go in and simply adjust the time of the device that I'm using, and TWS will also use that on your machine. Okay, let me see. How can we move a group? Okay, so Thomas wants it to reflect the actual market time. So you can do that either on your machine or go in and configure that as well. Let me see. How can you move a group, Charles is asking, a watch list or a position in a watch list? Well, let's go back into our favorites here. And notice what I'm going to do is create that group header row. Remember, this will allow you, I'm going to add stocks, for example, and I'll click OK. So now I have all of the stocks, and by the way, I'm going to remove this blank row by simply right-clicking and choosing to delete. Reason for that is when you've added a separate row, notice I'm simply going to grab that header column and I'm going to put it someplace over on the right-hand side of the page, and you'll see all of the continuous items are included here. So I can remove that, I can move that, or simply click and drag it as well. So it's using that header row that will actually allow you to create that. Now also on here, notice that this you can also copy and paste those ticker symbols. I'm going to select the top line, and let's go down to Tesla. By using the Shift key, holding the Shift key down, notice that I've made multiple selections. Now when I right-click, notice I could copy the tickers from this page. If there is one shortcut I can give you that will allow you to learn how to navigate in the platform, it's utilize that shortcut menu for those actions you can take based on where you choose to right click. So I've just copied those tickers. I'm going to go over to my separate page here, and notice I'm going to then choose a column, right click, and paste. And you'll see all of those same ticker symbols have now been added to an additional page. Now, by the way, not only can you do that with throughout Mosaic, notice I could also go into Classic TWS. Here I have an untitled page where I'm going to right-click and choose to paste. So those same ticker symbols can actually be added here as well. So did want to point that out. Now, if you have created a watch list and want to share that among our trading platforms, let me take you up to global configuration and we'll go into the settings. Now, when we are in this settings window, I do want to point out the lock and exit, because if you're creating watch lists in our classic or in TWS, our full featured TWS, you may want those same watch lists or market scanners saved to the cloud, which makes them available on your mobile devices or on our web trader feature. So not only can you create and copy and paste from Classic to Mosaic or add two separate watch lists, you can also pull in that same information on any of the platforms that we do or that you have access to. Okay. All right, so Charles, hopefully that's what you were looking for. Not only can you copy and paste throughout TWS, you can also make them available by saving them to the cloud on any of those other platforms. Okay. All right. Now you can do that with individual tickers. Notice here, I'm got an oil contract, I'm going to right click and simply choose. Now notice I'm not seeing copy included here, but remember the arrowhead. By expanding this menu, notice what I do have access now is to cut and paste. Cut, copy, or paste. So I'm going to copy that ticker symbol. Let's go back over to Mosaic, and I'm going to pull up my test. Well, here we've got it. Now I'm going to select a row, right-click and paste, and you'll see that I brought that same ticker symbol in. By the way, this is especially helpful if you are working with any spreads where you can pull the market data row for that complex spread position into any of your watch lists. So good question there, Charles. Thank you. Okay. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry, not Charles. That was Dominic. So good question, Dominic. Thanks. All right, let me see. Is it possible to save order templates? For example, I trade ABC frequently, so I want to save a bracket order template, such as buy ABC 100, sell 100, buy it at 100, sell at 110, with a stop at 157. Well, where you would do that? And Lee, good question again. That is in something we call order presets. It's available in our global configuration screen. And again, I'm going to go from global, the wrench icon, into and notice here, it's into order presets. Now, these order presets will take what that default template is and create your own. Notice here, I'm going to go into stocks, for example, and you'll see that I've already made some modifications here. Now, the default will go to a day order, and it's set for 100 shares of the underlying. Now I'm going to go ahead and click apply. Now you can leave that as your basic order default, but if you do want to add, and notice here, you can add a new preset. So I'm going to choose a new preset, and we'll just call this test bracket. So once I've created that, notice it's now been applied, and with it highlighted here, you'll see I can then add those order presets. So in this case, I might want to add it as a good till cancel, especially if you're going to attach a bracket. And in what I'm going to do is make this for, well, let's say, whoops, not 40,000, be careful. I'm going to put 400 shares. That will be the default amount. Now, the primary order, by the way, notice here, there is a clickable field, the ask price. So if I do go in and click on the ask price, it will create that limit order. But notice I've also created an offset at 2 cents below where that current price is. So rather than going in right at the market, it does allow me to set that offset. By the way, notice how these are going to be reversed. This is based on the buy side, and these items here will be reversed when you do go to sell that trade. Now, on this window here, let me see. I'm currently looking at all enabled fields, but what I am going to do is go into all possible fields. Notice that expands to show me the profit-taking limit order as well as the protective stop. Now notice here where it is showing you the order type is set at none, and you'll see the default amounts $1 above and $1 below. If you do want to set that order, notice here, I'm going to go in and choose my profit-taking limit order, and instead of $1, I'm going to notice here, I could choose the absolute amount or actually even a percentage. So I'm going to choose this, and let's make this, I'm going to put this in it, well, for round numbers so I can do the calculation. I'm going to put that at 10% above my parent limit price. Now also notice that your protective stop you can configure as well, but in order to configure it, you will have to choose from those stop orders that are available. Now what I'll do is I'll put this at a -5, and let me make sure that this is 5, and we'll put this in at a percentage. So I'm going to create this at 10% of my profit-taking limit order, 10% above, or you could choose that actual amount or 5% below. when I do click apply, and then OK, what I can do is then go in and create an order for that particular stock. So let's go, or for a stock. So notice I'm going to go into IBM, and we're going to choose, well, notice here, what I'm going to do. Well, first I have to select a buy or sell, and what I'm going to choose is from the advanced column is go in and create a bracket order. Notice now that the bracket order is set 10% above where that profit taking, where my parent order will fill. And notice here it's also set. Well, here I do, sorry, these happen to be in Mosaic. Mosaic doesn't use those order presets. So what I would have to do is make those changes here. And we can put that profit-taking limit order. Let's actually go into advanced. We can make that profit-taking limit order. Well, instead of doing it in this window, what I will do, since I did just create that, what I'll do is go in now and choose Amazon. Well, let's not go with Amazon. We'll go with Facebook. I'm going to create an order and then right-click within this trade and choose to attach a bracket order. So notice, well, did I not hit apply and OK? I may not have hit apply and OK, but now this will actually create those bracket orders. Let me go back in. Oh, I know what I didn't do here was that there's actually a separate column. So if we go back into our order presets, notice that with that order preset, I'm going to expand, and this is not my default preset, but by selecting this, I can make it the active preset. So now when I click apply and OK, and let's discard that particular trade, but I'm going to go back into Facebook, and we'll left click here, and notice the 400 shares set at good till cancel is going to, well, we saw this at 2 cents below where that best ask price was, and then now notice here how it's set 10% above and 5% below. So it's a way that by utilizing those order presets, you can do this overall for various instruments, or if you do go into order presets again, notice if it is a particular ticker symbol that you're looking for, I'm going to go into stocks and we'll just call this, what I'm going to do here is create a ticker for Facebook. Now when I do go in, oh, sorry, it's not Facebook. Let's put this for Microsoft. I'll go ahead and make that selection. By the way, if I do make these items here, what I can do, and we'll go in and just choose this. Once again, I'm going to put this in as a percentage, and we'll do that 10. And then come down here, choose the stop, and put this at a -5%. Click apply, and then OK. So when I do come into Microsoft, notice by expanding that, you'll see those same order defaults will appear for Microsoft only. If I go into Intel at this point, notice that, well, it's back to my 400 and not what I set. So there's a quick look, but do try this out in your paper account before you do start trading live. But good question there, Lee. By the way, there's also a separate webinar with webinar notes on order presets that's available in our archive section. Okay. All right. Now, Charles is saying, do a preset setting for an option with the trailing percent stop, good till cancel limit order. Well, Charles, we're going way over in today's session. So notice here, I'm going to go into the global configuration window. We're going to go into presets first, and I'm going to expand. Now notice where I've been working in equities, the same information is available with your option contracts. Now, notice that you can set the time in force, and by the way, for options, there's also an additional time in force included. That is day till cancel. Now, the reason I mention this is all your option orders are set up as day orders. If they don't fill by the end of the current trading session, they'll expire. and be removed from your screen. But a day till canceled order will be applicable only during active market hours. But instead of being removed from your screen, if it doesn't fill, it stays in TWS. So the next time you log in, you can resubmit that order or make modifications and then resubmit the order directly from the window. So did want to point out day till canceled is another time and force that's also available. Same fields that are listed here, and remember, if you're not seeing these profit-taking limit orders, you can go in and choose all possible fields. So give that a try on your version, and do try it in your paper account. That way, as you're working to try and perfect the selections that you make, you can try it out in paper and make sure that you're getting the results that you expect before you do start trading live. So did want to point that out as well. Well, with that, I could go on for days talking with TWS, and we have just scratched the surface. So I did want to thank you all for participating with me here today. I think we've covered all of the changes. Oh, I see Dominic was asking, can we move or copy a ticker from one watch list to another? And yes, you can do that, whether you're in Classic TWS or the Mosaic. But just remember, now notice as I do, let me go into my favorites here. And if I do, I'm going to simply right click and choose, remember, I can go down and copy. Well, we're going to continue, by the way, because of the colored linking. That message was just saying, well, you're going to cancel that order, and that's okay. Now, if I do want to go in, say, for example, I'm going to right-click and choose to copy that item. If I go into my test, notice, since I already have Apple, if I do try and paste, I can paste that, but notice that only one instance of that ticker symbol can be included on any of your watch lists. So instead of creating where it did create that Apple, it also removed my ticker from down below. So just do be careful with that. All right. Okay. Oh, good, Charles. Just what you needed. Excellent. Well, with that, we are going to conclude our session today. I want to thank all of you for participating and remind you that we have been recording today's event. If you do want to look at not only today's information, I'll be sending out a direct link to today's recorded playback soon after the session ends, so you can come back and revisit any of the concepts that we did discuss whenever it's convenient for you. But remember, by going into that webinar, you can either join me live for upcoming sessions or come back in and review any of our prior webinars. I think we talked about Portfolio Builder before. There's also different order types that you can do through Mosaic. And I think the presets are on here somewhere as well. So by the way, keep in mind that simply clicking the column headers will actually put this into a default or an alphabetical sort so that you can find information a little bit more readily. It looks like presets have dropped off, but oh no, here it is, order presets. So if you want more information, or you can also go into the webinar notes. It's the same outline that I use for each of these webinars. It's available as a continued cheat sheet or as a companion as you do try anything that we've shown you here today. So with that, that is going to conclude our session today. By the way, you can all exit today's presentation using the X that's included right above your control panel over on the right-hand side of the screen. So with that, I want to thank all of you for your participation here today. Have a great day, great rest of your day, and I hope I see you on some upcoming sessions both this week and next. Have a great one, everyone. Thanks for joining.